expressed on the following program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership.
Phoenix, Brother Mike back on the radio. Welcome to Filthy Fridays on HardcoreChristianity.com. God bless you and thank you for your time. Arizona mayhem today on Hardcore. Please don't call anybody and tell them the radio program's on. On Filthy Fridays, I like to keep the information kind of in-house, just between you and I. Today's program just a little bit too much for a new listener. You don't need to make that call today. I'll still do a couple of quick announcements as usual. Yes, sir, this is Brother Mike. I'm a professional counselor, 35 years of it. I'm at the House of Healing in Central Phoenix. I'm on 11th Street, just south of Indian School Road, down by the VA hospital and west of the 51 freeway in the heart of Maricopa County. We are a ministry of healing and deliverance. We've had several thousand people delivered from demons at the House of Healing. We've had several hundred people healed. Lately we had some great healings. They've been so fantastic. When you go to the website, hardcorechristianity.com, our 3 services are there every week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday nights. And my Friday night service at 6:30, that's my teaching service for my radio listeners. Please show up a little early so you can be sure and get a seat. You can sign up for a free seminar on the website for March, the free seminar. They're always free. You can register by signing up on the registration button on the website. You can sign up for our Facebook page. I publish a lot of our healing miracles on our Facebook page. Our YouTube teaching channel is fantastic. That, of course, obviously is free, and all the great teachings and the revelations God's given me over the years are on the YouTube channel. And the PayPal button's there, and thank you so much for all your support over the years. I've never been late on a ministry payment, and every single year we have record donations as we head into the deliverance revival. Mayhem has hit Arizona. Did you see what happened just a couple of days ago? I'll read it to you real quickly. Quote, a family of 5 is dead after a shooting and fire at a home in northwest Phoenix. Phoenix police said 26-year-old Alex Buckner shot 4 of his family members inside the home near 47th Avenue and Cactus early Tuesday morning. Alec Buckner's parents, Vic and Kim Buckner, and his 2 sisters, 6-year-old Emma and 18-year-old Caitlin, were identified by police as victims. Emma was rushed to the hospital where she was pronounced dead. Phoenix Police Sergeant Trent Crump said. Her former preschool teacher came to the crime scene to pay respects Tuesday evening. She said, quote, Emma was a happy girl. She always had a smile on her face. Paulina Bustamante said. She would always have something to say back, but it was always positive. I can't even believe she's gone. And, of course, there were several other people that were in a gut-wrenching state of shock over what happened. I was not surprised, and I'll explain that to you in a minute. Quote, relatives told ABC Channel 15 that Alex Buckner did not have a history of violence, but that he did have mental health problems. And they believed he had been diagnosed with schizophrenia. How does a family talk about a grandson who had mental problems and yet not be angry for the grief that he caused? Diana Buckner, Alex's grandmother, said. According to the detective, they said Alec Buckner was treated for drug abuse in the past, but the shooting was out of his character. The gun he used belonged to his father, Vic Buckner, and the family dash hounds survived the fire. So here's the bottom line here quickly. This patient had paranoid schizophrenia and had developed violent tendencies. Not all schizophrenics are violent. In fact, thank God it's a smaller percentage. He gets to the home and something triggered. There was a trigger somewhere which we're not aware of. He burns the house down. He gets his father's gun. He kills everybody. And then the police were there. They were called on 911 by the sister who had not yet died yet, the older sister. The cops get there, and I'll tell you what, there's a lot of rotten cops in the United States. A lot of them obviously are bad seeds or rotten apples. They're all over the place. But I'll tell you, here in Phoenix, we got some cops with some guts. And we got some firemen in this town that, man, these guys are some tough cookies and brave souls, to say the least. The firemen and the cops hit the building, hit the home, and there were guns still being fired. And the cops went into the house to save the family while the patient was still shooting. They went in there when the house was on fire and under gunfire. There may be some bad cops in this country and a lot of rotten apples in the barrel. I'm not going to argue against that at all. But I'll tell you what, here in Phoenix, we got some powerfully brave, capable, and very strong police officers and firefighters. I'll tell you what, these guys are top of the line from my perspective. That was an amazing situation. Unfortunately, of course, they couldn't save the home and they could not save the family, but it wasn't because they didn't try, that's for sure. But let me talk to you a little bit about what's going on here. And I've been going over this issue for a long time, years, on the radio, trying to warn people, trying to get our society, trying to get the Christian community to understand the supernatural power of the devil and the power of seducing spirits. The Bible in 1 Timothy talks about seducing spirits, and these are the demons that get into people's minds and they take over their thought process. And these demons are so powerful, as Paul said in 1 Timothy, that they can cause born-again Christians to dump their faith, literally depart from it, get rid of it. That's how powerful they are. These demons are incredibly smart, and they are incredibly powerful. And schizophrenia demons are exceptional in that group. Schizophrenia demons, listen to me carefully. This is information that several years ago was disclosed to me by the Lord, because when I left my career as a secular counselor, I wanted to go into Christian counseling to help people, but I went to the Lord, this was years ago, and I said to him, I've got to understand how mental illness works, what causes mental illness, and why so many mental illnesses are incurable. And God gave me the answer, and today I'm going to share part of that answer with you. We're talking about schizophrenia, and it is actually caused not by chemicals or inheritance or something of that nature, which is what I was taught when I was a secular counselor. It is actually caused by a powerful, seducing spirit. The schizophrenia spirit gets into the person's brain, but he cannot just get into the person's brain whenever he wants to. He has to be let in. And here's how it works. Here's what God revealed to me, the process of how people become seriously mentally ill. It starts years earlier. The schizophrenia demon normally doesn't get into the patient's brain until late teens or early 20s or mid-20s. It takes a long time for him to enter the brain and take control of the person. But before that, listen carefully, before that, he has to be let in by other spirits. He has to be let in by other spirits. And here's how it works. Listen to me carefully. During childhood, preschool, grade school, the early years, the child goes through a period of trauma or great disappointment. During this period of trauma or great disappointment, a spirit of rejection enters the child's mind. And from that point on, this rejection spirit starts to take over the person's thought processes. He starts to take over their mind. And he does it very gradually by teaching the child to think that the thoughts they're having are their own. And what this rejection demon does, he's incredibly intelligent. He puts negative thoughts in the child's mind, and they're usually personal. you're no good, nobody loves you, everybody hates you, you're worthless, you're unworthy, crappy thoughts like that. And as he keeps doing it over a period of time, the child starts to think that those are their thoughts, and they begin to believe them. Well, once this process happens, the rejection demon starts to let in other spirits. The next one he lets in is the spirit of rebellion. He also lets in other powerful demons, lust demons, fear demons. And this process allows this rejection demon to develop a low self-esteem and a low self-concept in the child. The child grows up with a sense that they're deficient to others, they're expendable, they're not worth anything to God, and they have this terrible sense of deep-seated loathing because they were abused as a child, they were beaten as a child, they were verbally castigated as a child, they were mentally oppressed as a child, and this rejection demon then runs wild and, like a gatekeeper in a plant, lets in other spirits. Well, eventually, after several years, and it takes several years to do this, as the person begins to listen to spirits more, as their emotions become increasingly negative, as the thoughts in their mind become increasingly negative and repetitive and uncontrollable, the person begins to see themselves literally as worthless. And the rebellion spirit in their brain also teaches them to develop a root of bitterness that Paul spoke about in Romans, where they begin to hate and resent, and they develop anger and rage, and they have senses in their mind of murder and vengeance and retaliation, because the demons in their brain teach the child that self-pity is okay and that they're actually victims, and all these rotten people in the world and the planet, the church and their relatives, their friends, they really are the abusers, and really they deserve to be hated because they're just no darn good. And once this process accelerates dramatically, the rebellion demon and the rejection demon then let in the schizophrenia demon, and the voices begin to take over in the person's brain. And they can actually hear the voices as clear as a bell as I'm speaking to you now. And sometimes this schizophrenia demon has a violent component, and those patients are literally dangerous to themselves and others, and many times have to be under a court order to induce their medication usage to keep the patient under control. And that's what happened to this poor family. The schizophrenia demon got in and murdered everybody and then burned the house down. And it was all related to seducing spirits.
The views expressed on the preceding program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership. This program has been sponsored by Michael W. Smith.